It's 8:30 Eastern Time, the only time zone still making 6-7 jokes. That means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by CampusCanton.com. That's Chris K. I'm Austin Nace. No Matt Bruni tonight. A little under the weather. We tried to get the flu game going, but alas. On an unemployed version of tonight's show, Sunbelt Billy riding off into the sunset. There's an awful lot of coaches fired at this point in the year. Maybe we have to have a talk about that. Texas might stink. All that and more on the other side of the stinger. Hi, Chris. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I'm not sick, so I'm better than Matt. Feel bad for him.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Just another night in paradise. Wednesday night in October.
Solo dadding it up. Yep.
Having a great time.
Living the dream.
We're going to lead off the show here with Billy Napier. I think that's probably the biggest news in college football this week. Before we get there, guys, I am obligated to do our subscribe to the channel, leave a like, rate and review, do all that stuff that you do across all our different platforms. Go ahead and do that. And check out Home Field Apparel as well. Promo code Campus2Canton, get you 15% off over there. Chris, are you still on a self-imposed ban?
Yeah, there's definitely self-excluded that one for sure. I wear it. I still have tons of gear I wear all the time. But I just am not purchasing anything new these days. I just can't.
The self or the willpower there is
if incredible. You just don't look at it, it's easier to do. So I just basically haven't visited that site in a year maybe, but I used to every day.
Put the parental controls on and block it. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Have to.
Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, I did cut off right on your chin there.
You're fine. That's not a good chin. It's below average.
The podcast listeners gonna have no idea what we're talking about. Onward and upward. Billy Napier fired this week from Florida. I think finally might be the word that you can actually throw in there, because I think we've all been expecting this now for, I don't know, well over a year really, and he's just kind of hung on by a thread. He finishes his career at Florida, 45 games as a head coach, under 500, 22-23 is the final verdict there. There really wasn't a standout year for him. I guess the best year and the reason that he was able to come back this season was the 8-5 last year, where he finished with like 4 straight wins or whatever down the stretch and got the bowl game and won that. But that was his only bowl win there, which is crazy for a school like Florida, quite frankly. And that's the part of the reason he's gone now. Too late, Chris? I mean, were you an advocate for him going prior to this?
I mean, I think we all saw it and knew it was coming, right? And I think we all agreed. I was definitely on the train of like, this just doesn't feel like it's right. That just doesn't feel like he's up to this level of competition. And the hard part there, right, is that you win 4 straight. I mean, 8-5 on just in a vacuum is not like bring him back for another year worthy. But if you win 4 straight and you have DJ Lagway, it changes everything, right? Like when you have DJ Lagway, you get another year, right? Because you don't want to potentially lose Lagway. And so, so unique circumstances kept him around probably a year longer than he should have been.
Yeah. It's funny because I think the Lagway performance down the stretch there might have actually been what killed him this year, because there was no improvement, at least from what we could tell. And you can blame some of that maybe on DJ Lagway. I think you have to blame a lot of it on the circumstances around him too. The fact that this team just, for whatever reason, has been looked very stale offensively. They've never really capitalized on DJ's strengths. It feels like, the skill guys are okay, but nothing special. I don't. They just the team they put out there has been real mediocre the past few years, and the key pieces there just haven't gotten any better. How many guys have showed up day one and gotten like significantly better over the time that he was there?
I was just gonna say they've had some big classes, right? Like I think if you looked at like the talent ratings that some of these sites put out, they pretty much are like favorites according to the talent ratings compared to their matchups, right? A significant amount of times, not against Georgia and Bama maybe, but like a lot of these other opponents. so it is weird. They just haven't been able to produce and make them better. Question: Billy's not. Is he an offensive guy? He's not calling the plays, is he?
I don't think that he was calling the plays there, but his background, I'm pretty sure, is offensive. But I don't. Well, he might have been calling the plays there because I saw some people talking about this week. What's the last national champion that's had a head coach who was calling plays at the time? And the answer was like, basically, it's been a very long time. It just doesn't really happen anymore.
He is a background of offense. He was OC at Arizona State in 2017. That was forever ago. But yeah, since then he's been the head coach.
Yeah.
You do wonder sometimes. Sometimes it's like a negative that you call the plays because, like, yeah, fire the guy calling plays if the offense stinks. Well, like that would be you, right? Like maybe he could have seeded off play calling, but even then, it doesn't change the fact that nobody seemingly is any better year over year.
Yeah.
My question to you here, Austin, is they won. So why? Like, I think you could argue, Virginia Tech and some of these other schools early on that fired coaches, you make sure you wait till that 4-game window is closed for the transfer portal. But like we're past that. So why was it now after a win compared to last week? Maybe doing it before last week.
I mean, it was a win, but it was a scrappy win over Mississippi State, who, I mean, I know they have that win on Arizona State under their belt, but they're really not
But they're not as pushovery as they have been in the past.
No, I guess not. I mean, they've got a better record than Florida to this point. Haven't played the non-con schedule they have yet, but
no. Yeah, I did think that was interesting, but maybe it was just like, okay, you didn't show any sort of like, such a level up, knowing that everything's on the line. Nothing was all that much different. So yeah, be interesting to see where they go. Where do you think I just was looking at some names that were being discussed. One of them is being repeated that I think is hilarious, but potentially realistic. But I'm curious where you think they go.
I mean, toss out some of the names that they're talking about, and we can kind of go down the list. I mean, I know Lane Kiffin is like number one with the board in terms of what I think fans want out of that.
Yeah,
I don't know how realistic that is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you think Lane Kiffin's tapped upside wise at Ole Miss? Like, do you think he's taken them as far as they can go, or do you think he is as far as he can go? Does that make sense?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think he probably has Ole Miss about as far as they can go. As far as like whether he can get beyond that point, I mean, a couple balls bounced a different way last year, and they're a playoff team. And then I don't even know if we're really having, these kind of discussions at this point. I mean, what's the game they dropped last year where Dart was just awful? He threw like all those interceptions in the second half and just was terrible.
Didn't they lose to Kentucky? It might have been the
Kentucky game. It might have been the Kentucky game.
That was like the big surprise. I remember I think I was actually at an Auburn game for the first time in a while. But yeah, I mean, maybe. I think if you're Florida, yes, Lane Kiffin is very appealing. If your Lane Kiffin is Florida appealing, I don't know. I mean, every year you can just restructure your deal to get more money, right? So like, that's awesome. Good for him. But the other name I've seen is Drinkowitz at Missouri.
I don't understand the appeal with that.
I don't know. SEC coach that wins games. And he seems to be thrown around a lot for all these bigger openings. Like he's been thrown out from Penn State, right? So, and then I've seen this list as dark horse. I think Joel Klatt brought it up. James Franklin.
It seems when people talk about these things that they either frame it as the school unlocks the coach in terms of resources and, general pool and all those kinds of things, or vice versa, where they make the argument that the coach kind of makes the school, think of Alabama, Sands, Saban, and Bryant, and some of these other Penn State, Sands, Paterno. I mean, kind of go down the list. Florida State without Bowden, more or less. I think it's kind of a two-way street, especially in modern college football, where the school matters to an extent and the right coach can take it above, but a school can also kind of elevate what we thought a coach was capable of. So I actually do think that Franklin makes some sense for Florida if you think that he's a better coach than he's currently getting credit for. Like, he'll have more resources. He'll be in a more talent-rich area. He's a CEO type coach, which I think is more what they want at this point and less of like a play caller type of guy. I mean, I think he's checking a lot of those boxes. Lane probably does too, to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's funny. The number one thing Florida should do with their schedule loaded with top 10 teams is hire a coach that has never beaten top 10 teams.
He beat one.
Beat one year once, right? So it is interesting. That one feels like a floor play. That feels like let's get Florida back to relevance.
Well, what was Billy Napier? They say you do the opposite when you
and
he was let's go get an unknown and hope that the upside here is ridiculous.
I do think G5's off the table. John Summerall off the table. I don't think they go down that route, period.
The only one that I think they would consider, and I think they'd have to get pretty far down the list, is Golish.
I was going to say Golish I could see happening, but I don't think they could possibly go the Summerall route. So that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, it's I think Franklin would be that. Let's get 9-10 wins. Like, let's get back to that route. What's really unique about this coaching cycle is that there's so many jobs out there, and there's so many good jobs out there. Like, Penn State's a good job. Florida's a good job. Arkansas has its perks, right? Like, how many times is like Virginia Tech maybe the 5th or 6th best job?
Florida State might open up.
Florida State could open up. Like, there are so many of them out there. Like, what if Wisconsin opens up? Like, now some of these are definitely way better than the others, but like, there can't possibly be that many options out there to fill all these jobs. Stanford's going to need a coach. I mean, although I think Stanford would be at the bottom of the list, but
is Florida the best job of this? Is Florida the best job of this?
I would say, yeah. I would say Florida has to be, right? SEC, big program, big fan base, big money. You would imagine, like, you have the quarterback potentially in Lagway if you feel like you could do that. You could keep him potentially. But I think right now coaches probably don't care. They probably just say, I can get one in the portal. I can bring one that I have. But yeah, I think Florida's number one, don't you?
I do. And the part that I don't think you said it on your list was where they're located.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of recruiting, I mean, I think that is a really big deal for any school in this day and age, not only out of high school, but like transfers back. Because a lot of those Florida kids leave Florida, but what's the number one close to home when they come back?
I was just gonna say, what's the number one thing we do when we say, hey, this guy is just entered the portal, where would he go? It's who recruited him out of high school, where is his home? Like, where's his
girlfriend go?
Yeah, or where's his girlfriend play volleyball at? So yeah, that's a good point. I definitely agree with you there.
So Napier, I guess if you're saying this is, Florida's the best job available, they'll have their pick. I mean, who do you think gets the job if you had to pick one name?
I'd see, while Franklin's an interesting name as a floor play, I don't think they'd go that route. But realistically, would Kiffin leave Drinkwitz at Missouri? I mean, my bet would be between those two, Missouri and Ole Miss's coach. Maybe this is the time that Kiffin leaves. It's something we'll open up the next year, anyways. But I mean, does it really get better than Florida? I mean, like, there's definitely programs in the same level, but like, Georgia's not opening up, right? No. Like, Ohio State's not opening up. These are positions that are Notre Dame's not opening up, right? Like, you're not waiting for Michigan. Is USC going to open up? USC could be. I mean, but Lane Kiffin's not going back to USC.
I don't think he can go back to USC.
Right?
I mean, I don't know. They've softened a little bit on that, I think, over the years. But
so, like, in terms of jobs that could open, isn't Florida like a top 10 overall job?
It's probably up there. Yeah, I mean, you can debate about, on any given year.
Right.
And I think it'd be a lot more difficult if Florida State was also good right now, because I could see people not being a little apprehensive to take that job when Miami and Florida State are up. That's probably maybe not as attractive if that's the case. But if only one of the legs of the stool are pretty strong right now, you think you can probably go in there and run Florida a little bit.
Yeah. So, like in that situation, right, we've already crossed out, let's say 5 or 6 spots that are probably top 10 or 12 options.
So do you think
overall.
LSU opens up maybe?
I think LSU is probably the same level of job as Florida.
I think it's a better job, personally. By like a fair amount, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
What because of the cupboards filled a little bit more?
I think the current roster is a little bit better. I think LSU, no matter who the coach is, has at least in recent history done an excellent job of keeping a lot of the in-school kids in state. I know, some of them trickle out now with NIL. What are you going to do? But I think they generally, and it's a pretty good recruiting state. You're not fighting with a bunch of other schools in state for all of that. I think they are just set up generally year in, year out to win a little more than Florida is. Because Florida, every year you have to play Miami
and Georgia,
Florida State, like out of conference. You have to play Georgia. Like you automatically have like all these a loaded schedule. I think LSU's is tough. I mean, they're in the SEC, but they're not tied to all of those big games that they kind of have to play on a yearly basis.
Yeah, the West versus East thing is not a thing anymore, right? It used to be 5 years ago. It was, if you're in the East, right? If you're South Carolina, you're Vanderbilt, you get those games, right? That's like the hard Kentucky. Those are the hard ones, but now it's not as relevant. So yeah, the schedule is a little bit better just because of the non-con stuff. Yeah, with Miami and Florida State.
I'm trying to look up what their yearly, because I know they just announced those.
LSU's yearly is like Arkansas,
Ole Miss, and A&M.
Yeah,
that's really not a bad group. I mean, it has the potential to be rough.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's not Georgia, Bama.
I mean, what are you going to do if you're not? I mean, yeah, just you're going to in the SEC. You're going to have to play a couple of these schools. I don't know.
Sorry, I would. Back to the original question, I think it would be Drinkowitz or Kiffin. I just think if you're one of those two guys and you get offered it, you take it. Like Missouri is not a top tier school, and I think your stock is only as high as it can be if you're him. And then Lane Kiffin again, if LSU opens, sure, but just I guess it depends on when you need to make that decision, right? If Ole Miss doesn't make the playoff, he has less time in a sense to make that decision because I think everybody would expect him to say yes or no to Florida. I don't know. We'll see.
It's a bummer. This is one that I don't think we're going to get an out of left field hire because of what they did last cycle. Like I just don't think they could come back to their fan base and do that again and see any sort of real support.
What would count as an out of left field hire?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. One of the kind of hot-ish G5 names. I think the one thing that we're not seeing a lot of right now is dipping into NFL coordinator ranks. That's really not a discussion that's had a lot of these schools, and I don't know if that's because of how much more complex the management side of college football has gotten over the past 5 to 7 years that we don't really see that anymore. Or I don't exactly know why that is, but you don't hear about any. I mean, I think the only guy that's in talks right now is Zach Robinson with Oklahoma State is the only coordinator guy that I hear thrown around a decent amount for college jobs.
I think the reason why maybe you don't see the coordinators jump to the college ranks anymore is because who wants to deal with that? Right. Like I think it's now more than ever. It used to be NFL is like an insane amount of work, but there's a little bit of an off season. Now there's absolutely no off season college football, and it's insane. And then having to recruit your own players. I think coordinators for the most part in the NFL are pretty out on having to do that, considering every year there's 4 or 5 NFL jobs and you can just bide your time a little bit there. But I think I don't know who an out and left field hire would be. I think it might be something like a former.
What about Jed Fish?
Fish could be interesting.
Florida connections, yeah.
But if you're a Florida Gator fan, does that inspire you? Does Fish inspire you? He might inspire me more than Drinkwitz.
He personally would for me, I think. He's done pretty good job recruiting at some less than, I think, traditionally stellar recruiting hotspots. Not that Washington's a bad program or anything, but I think he's outperformed what people even expected there. And at Arizona, I mean, some of the guys that he brought in there were pretty great too.
I'm pretty positive Nate called this like a year ago. I'm pretty positive Nate did some sort of mind game where it was like Fish goes to Florida, brings Demond, Lagway goes to Texas or something like that. Like, I'm fairly positive he's brought this up in a previous conversation, maybe like at one of the Dynasty show he does with Jared, maybe when talking about Demond and stuff. But Fish could be interesting. I think Colin made a really good one, brought up a really good one for Penn State in Slack. Like an out of left field hire to me for Penn State is like Brian Hartline to me. I think not a head coach. He's been a coordinator for what, 1 year.
Yeah. And he's like not even, it's like in name only.
Pseudo, right? Yeah. And so like that's out of left field, but also at the same time too, like he has a ton of pedigree with like recruiting receivers and like that kind of value to his name, which is interesting. But I don't know. Some of the times I feel like somebody's gonna do like the Michael Vick to Hokies, you know, like something like that, where it's like you take like Andrew Luck's gonna be the head coach of Stanford, like that type of weird, like former star player goes to then become their head coach. Does Florida have anybody like that
in the pipeline right now? Not that I can think off the top of my head. No.
Yeah, that's like the Zach Robinson thing, by the way, except he's got actual coaching experience. Former quarterback. So it's like, I wonder who's going to do that besides like that obvious one there. That Zach Robinson to me still feels like an obvious one, like a verbal agreement that once the Falcon season's over, it happens.
I'd kind of heard a little bit of that, and I am curious because there's been like no chatter on Oklahoma State now at all. And I'm assuming that part of that's because all these other cooler jobs are open now, and so like who cares about?
Yeah, or it's also
Oklahoma
like
State, but
kind of determined. Right?
I think it is. Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
It could be either. It could be both. You know, it could be like, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, some of these coaches, like Auburn, could be open. You know, what's really interesting is this stuff on like all these coaches being, you know, someone backed up Luke, backed up Luke Fickell, I think at Wisconsin, and somebody did with Norvell at FSU. Administration did, right? They backed him up. But Hugh Freeze comes out and was like, I wish somebody would do that for me. And Auburn's guys are like, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I forgot about Auburn. Do you think you're maybe a little too close to it? Do you think Auburn, how on the hierarchy of jobs that are open now or could be open, worse than Florida?
I don't know why it wouldn't be the same. The only difference between Auburn and Florida is the recruiting state, right? Like Auburn has an insane amount of money, from what I can gather. I mean, the fact that they're paying all these guys this year, right? They gave Singleton $1 million. If you're giving Singleton $1 million, then you probably have a ton of money. I think they're just as good as Penn State, but I think you're right. LSU's better than Florida. I would say LSU's better than Auburn just because they've been successful. Here's a part that's probably an unexpected positive, or maybe it's not a positive. Can Auburn buy out a third head coach in a row? Like, if you take that Auburn job, you're pretty much guaranteed the life cycle of that contract, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing, I guess. Yeah. But
it could be, I was like, maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe it's like, go get that buyout, right?
Yeah, I don't know that it really matters to a lot of these guys. I mean, obviously nobody wants to get fired.
Right.
At the end of the day, like, you know, you're getting
you're pretty much guaranteed the 4-year, 5-year contract you sign. Like Auburn can't possibly buy out another head coach in a row.
Not to branch off too far into a different school discussion, but I feel like Auburn is a worse job than all of those that you listed, except for Arkansas, because they'll always be little brother in Alabama.
You think so?
Yes.
Yeah, they're definitely little brother. Yeah. I don't like Alabama, not because I'm an Auburn fan.
Like, how many years in a row would Auburn have to outperform Alabama to no longer be seen as little brother?
It would have to be a lot. It'd have to be championships, is what it'd have to be. Because Auburn's beaten Alabama.
Oh, sure.
But that is the only thing that's different is that they're little brother because of the championships. You know, it's like, so what, you know, okay. Like Ohio State last year, right? They got beat by Michigan, but so what? Because they won the national championship. It doesn't have that same sting, that same effect. But yeah, well, I mean, shoot, Michigan could be open.
You think?
They'd have to lose some games, but I don't think it's like if they would have lost to Washington, I think the seed has some warmth to it.
Martin in the chat says Auburn had to be better than Bama for 20 years, and even then, I don't think it would get the job done. I mean, yeah, it would just have to be a ridiculous run. With a bunch of ships, and Alabama would
They'd have to
bad, and
for sure. It's all about national championships, and the problem there is that Bama has had so many of them, and they've had so many of them recently.
Yeah,
that you'd have to go on some insane run for sure.
Yeah, makes it tough. And he did also say he thinks LSU is a top 4 job in the country. I mean, without sitting down and making the list, I think it. I could say that sounds.
We're doing it.
Right.
We're skipping top 25 this week, so why not sit down and talk about the list?
Okay. What's the best college football job in the country?
I think you have to consider Alabama, not Michigan, Ohio State,
yeah,
Notre Dame,
yeah,
and then I think
Texas,
LSU. Then maybe you can throw in like a USC, but that one doesn't. I don't feel like I don't have the conviction or the chutzpah behind that one. But but with those names, do you disagree with any of those 5? Take out USC, but keep LSU in as a top 5. You think someone's above that?
Sounds about right. People could argue some of the Florida schools in there, Miami. The flavor of the month, whatever in there. I get it. I wouldn't necessarily put it up there.
I would. Yeah. I mean, Miami, Florida, Florida State are cool jobs, but I don't think they're up there. Clemson's not up there.
I mean, Clemson, for all we know, and I think we kind of have to work under this assumption that as soon as Dabo leaves, it's not really the same thing anymore. And even then, it might not be the same thing anymore because of just how the past couple of years have gone.
It might be more of a reclamation project than people would hope. That a coach would hope. Oregon, I would say, is probably better than USC, but it's not in the top 5 conversation.
USC is just so classic. I don't know. I think they're always going to be. How long would USC have to be bad to no longer be a good job? It had to be so long. I feel.
They've been pretty average for a while, and there's still some oomph behind that name. But to me, Oregon plays like.
I don't know if Martin, maybe we didn't say Bama, but yeah, Bama.
We didn't know. We didn't include Georgia, and he's completely right. Martin, good call there. Georgia's up there for sure. You'd probably. Where would you put Notre Dame? Maybe the conversation is better off. Where would you put Notre Dame compared to Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Bama, LSU?
It's very interesting because I think we're going to have we might have a different view on this 5 years from now, where it does seem like some of these more like traditionally conservative football programs and traditionally conservative. And I don't mean like in like the political sense or anything. I just mean like, the tradition and how we've always done things and all this kind of stuff like has always really mattered at some of these places. And less on like, we could now like pay you more. Like it might be like, well, we're going to pay you 10% less, but it's Notre Dame. I think over the next 5 or 7 years, we're going to get a really good sense of if that is applicable on a yearly basis or not. But it's like, and the schools that I'm thinking of are Notre Dame, Penn State, and to an extent, Alabama, because we've heard that they've been crying poor quite a bit, at least poorer than you would expect them to be.
Notre Dame has, not to get political, and I just not intended, they have the trump card though.
Which is just Catholics.
Catholics. Yeah. Priests. No, they have no conference.
I mean, maybe that changes. Not like that they don't have a conference, but maybe that's not a strength as much over the next few years. Who knows?
See, the problem there is that Notre Dame is money. And as long as they win, they lost the first 2 games of the year. And I think everybody agrees if they win out, they're in. Right? Like, I think they have a little bit more leeway to make the top 12 than any other school. Right? They're not going to lose their last game of the season and jeopardize because they're playing a top 10 opponent, right? They can make their own schedule to any way they want, right? So if they wanted to tackle Michigan, if they wanted to tackle USC or not, they could. And they have their own TV market money. So they are money. I think you're right, though. I think over time that gold shine is going to be a little bit less bright, but I think they do have a kind of a trump card compared to some of these other schools. Maybe the French schools.
I think it's an interesting discussion over the next few years. Martin asked, Tennessee, Penn State, Notre Dame, how would you rank those jobs?
Reverse of what you just said. Notre Dame, Penn State, Tennessee.
You think Penn State's definitely a better job than Tennessee?
Big Ten is in the same discussion as SEC
Yeah.
in terms of like big money players and like TV deals and stuff like that. And everything that's pointing towards is like more guaranteed teams from conferences, and Big Ten is in that conversation. If Penn State was in the Big 12, I would not agree with them over Tennessee. But like, what is so special about Tennessee?
Good question. I mean, I don't know. I tend to somewhat suspect that Penn State is like one bad coaching hire away, though, from
like completely
from really struggling to bounce
out.
back for a long time. Yeah, like Nebraska-ish. I know that joke has been beaten to death by a lot of people, or that discussion point's been had. I mean, I definitely think it's possible.
What is Heupel? Heupel's probably not that far from being fired, right? Like, he hasn't been that good. He made the playoff and got waxed. Before that, they didn't make the playoff, and they haven't been special, right? At a certain point, Tennessee fans have to kind of be fed up. Like, oh, you can't beat, like, you continue to lose to Bama. Now what? I mean, I don't think Vanderbilt's ever going to be consistently good, but like, what if Vandy rattles off a few more 8 to 10 win seasons and beats Tennessee? Like, at a certain point, people are going to be like, all right, this is like, enough's enough. By the way, Clark Lee is another name that I saw for like Florida and some other like top name jobs. He seems interesting. I don't know enough about him though.
I will say, just Heupel, I think he's going to get a pass for this year from most of their fan base because of how he handled. They really are happy with how he handled the Nico Imalieva situation, and they're giving him some grace for what they ended up with at QB this year. And I don't think quarterback is really their problem, but
I mean, quarterback solves a lot of issues though, doesn't it?
Can.
Did you see this stuff on the Martin's just crushing it? Thank you, Martin. We should just consult you for the show sheet weekly. Do you see this stuff on Curt Cignetti and his contract?
Like in terms of what the buyout is and what the yearly pay is for him?
There's like some interesting stipulations about it. I don't act like I'm a lawyer by any means, but there's a fairly vague terminology in there that like about like a good, like Indiana and like a good faith, like offer that they have to provide. And if not, then like the buyout disappears and some other interesting pieces to it.
Interesting. I had not seen any of that.
Yeah. Where do you, Martin's curious, where do you stack Cignetti? Are you a Cignetti guy or not?
Yeah, I mean, he's been great this year. I think it's hard to argue. He's been great the last decade. I mean, I think it's hard to count him out at this point.
I like him. I think I've said it before. He's a little bit of he's probably an acquired taste, right? But
I don't personally appreciate that much about him as like an interviewer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a coach, like, yeah, it's pretty hard to argue with.
Yeah. Pretty hard to argue with the results. There's some interesting pieces of it where he just like keeps getting transfers from his previous schools that at a certain point that dries out. Like, can he use the portal enough in a good enough way to keep his teams relevant? I mean, Indiana recruiting wise is probably a tough spot to do it in terms of high school, but maybe. Is Albert Mendoza any good?
The younger brother? He's not supposed to be. I mean, who knows? But he's not supposed to be as good as his brother, I don't think.
Cool. Interesting. Just was curious. Maybe that's the route. You could save some money on quarterback if he was any good, but I have no idea.
He feels like another guy that's going to go out and get another guy to the portal this year.
I think he's always going to go portal. Yeah, I think he'd be crazy not to always do the portal. I feel like quarterback's the position where you just say, yep, commit to it. Every chance we get, we do it.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all. What do you think of his buyout? That's like 90-something million.
It's like it's all guaranteed, right? Like, yeah. So basically it just lowers as the season goes, right? That number is pretty staggering. But if you're Indiana, what are your options? Right? Like,
I mean, it's true. I think, I don't know, has the stuff from the past few years with some of these buyouts not taught us anything? was my initial reaction to it.
Oh, for sure. The problem is,
I mean, Jimbo. Did anybody think Jimbo would get bought out with?
Yeah, but
60-70 million dollars left on his. I don't think
A&M was, or Florida State, who all these buyouts have been crazy. All these programs, like they have opt-out, like they have ways back to relevance. If Indiana loses Kurt Signetti, what are the chances that they get a coach that can keep them relevant? Probably fairly low, right? So they have to, it's like the reverse hometown discount, right? Like they have to pay up to keep them, knowing that if they lose them, they're falling way further than some of these other, like A&M and FSU and all these programs that have done it in the past. Like your big programs, you don't have to like bow down and do everything possible to these coaches, because you could just get the next coach that potentially is good.
It's a fair point. Yeah. But I tend to be leaning to, I'm interested to see if we see some pushback on some of these buyouts over the next few years, because some of these are ridiculous.
You think Indiana also did it because of this whole like Saudi Arabia PE type stuff that's everybody's like bringing up these days?
I'd be interested to see. I don't remember. I know I had read at one point the list of the Big Ten schools that were against it. I know. Ohio State was one of the ones that was for it, but Michigan was against it, right?
I think so, but I'm not. It's like a educated guess.
One of their ADs came out. I think it was Michigan's AD who came out and said, like, it's basically borrowing money from the future, and my job as the athletic director is to make the future like more solidified and like not to borrow from the future for today.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty good quote. I probably botched the crap out of it. But
you didn't do it any justice, but I think we can probably better than me. But yeah, not surprising that a Michigan would go against Ohio State and vice versa. But
it was out of principle. They just had to come up with some arguments.
Out of principle, yeah. I don't. Yeah, you have to. So I don't know. Big Ten and SEC are getting infused with a ton of money, just generally speaking. So probably people are acting recklessly, just banking on more money being given to them in the future.
Does Billy Napier get a job next year?
Does Billy Napier want a job next year?
It's a fair question. I haven't heard if he has any of the language in his contract, like the
you don't get paid unless you
mitigate. And yeah, like I haven't heard if there's any.
It's like going on like unemployment, where you have to prove you're applying for jobs. You know, it's just kind of a funny concept. Like James Franklin's on like Indeed. But yeah, I think if he wants it, he definitely could, right? Like if you're a G5 program, like I know it didn't work for him at Florida, but it's not like it's worked for a bunch of coaches at Florida, right? And if you're a G5 program, you're about to get pillaged anyways by some of these other spots. I'm not saying a 1-for-1, but like Tulane's probably Summerall. Like if you're Tulane, would you not entertain the idea of Napier? I mean, like if you're one of these programs, I think you'd be crazy not to consider something like that. Like if a G5 program wanted. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he was 40-12 at Louisiana.
He was awesome.
Pretty great.
Yeah. Plus you go back to like just straight coaching in the G5. You know, it's more about like actual X's and O's, cultural relationships and things like that. And you have to be able to kind of start it over every year to an extent, but like it's more about true football than it is recruiting and NIL and that type of stuff, like in these big programs. So could Napier just be really, really good at the X's and O's stuff at a smaller level? I think that would be certainly possible. And if you're a G5 program, like you'd be crazy not to consider him. Now, does he want to go back there? It's kind of hard to go back to the Sun Belt when you've been in the SEC, but I don't know, maybe like from a stress perspective, it's better. Maybe, I mean, if you're like, I don't know, what's a P4 job that's open that would consider him?
I don't know how many would actually, like, I don't know that any would consider him, but you'd have to think it would be like the UCLA tier of job, right?
What if it's like, would UNC consider him if Belichick's gone?
I don't know what direction they're going to go after Belichick. Because weren't there rumors that there was language that like his son had to be the next coach or something?
No idea at all there. But if you want to talk about like overcompensating, what are you hiring like a 22-year-old to be the head coach if you fire Belichick?
I thought they already had a 22-year-old as their head coach. So that was the problem.
The GM, the marketing manager or something. Yeah, I think if you're that level of program like UNC, I mean, he's definitely not going to the SEC.
No.
You would imagine he stays around the Southeast, right? Is he kind of more of a Southeastern guy? I think he was at Clemson, I think, for a minute, Alabama for a minute, if I remember the Wikipedia correctly. So ACC is the only other one that would fit besides the G5.
He was at Colorado State for a year, and he was at Arizona State for a year. But otherwise, he's generally been in what I would consider the Southeast of the country for his career.
Yeah. I don't know.
Lucky for him, there's a lot of schools around there that would be interesting. Like, I think Coastal would be interesting if that job were to open up, because they've not been very good since what's his name went to Liberty. Whose name is escaping me?
Chadwell?
Yeah, they haven't been that good the past couple years, have they? At least not like what they were under Chadwell.
Coastal was awesome back with McCall and those offenses. Yeah, not the same. Isaiah Likely was there. Some cool names.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of G5 coaches shifting around, right? That domino effect is only, let's say Oklahoma State and Florida is not going to go G5, let's say. But who goes from there to the next, it just creates this cascade of just like, eventually we get there.
Martin asks, would Kenny Dillingham ever leave Arizona State? I mean, I think he would. I don't know if he's ever given any sort of indication as to like where he would want to go, because he's kind of coached all over. I don't know that he's like scared to go like outside of whatever would be deemed his comfort zone,
So the thing with him is, I mean, he played at Arizona State.
Yeah.
So to me, a guy like that who is like, from a personality standpoint, is, I think, one of the cooler, like more down to earth, realistic guys, selfless. I don't think a guy like that's his alma mater leaves unless they win like big, right? And I mean, are they going to do that soon? He's young. He probably thinks to himself, look, I'm going to coach here let me coach here until I get us to the championship or win a championship. And if it doesn't happen in 10 years, then I'll reevaluate. That's a lot of years until we get there, right? So I don't think he's a guy that would jump ship yet.
He feels like next USC head coach to me.
Like go ASU to...
That's what he feels like more personally to me, just as I think about him.
What about like replacing Dan Lanning, if Dan Lanning ever leaves?
Maybe, yeah. He just feels like more of a West Coast guy than an East Coast guy to me. I know like he coached at Memphis and Florida State. I think he was at Auburn for a year too. But like he always feels to me like personality wise, he feels like more of a West Coast guy. I don't know.
He's young. He's got a lot of time to do it.
He does.
Yeah, USC obviously is the cool spot, West Coast, but with Oregon, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine he leaves soon. I think it'd be years before he leaves.
I do too. I mean, the fact that he's really not getting mentioned that extensively with any of these jobs tells me that he's not interested, because his agent would be out floating that name around pretty consistently if he was. But
and he would be a hot name.
Yeah.
He would definitely be a hot name if he was on the market. So I think that further backs it.
Yeah. I think that covers broader coaching talk, which was our second bullet point here tonight. Unless you have any further thoughts on,
I will say
right now. I mean, there's a lot of jobs open, which I think is interesting, but I think part of that is just the nature of portal and NIL and getting all your ducks in a row early and all that.
I will say I don't remember C2C Live ever being this coaching focused like in the years past. But it is such a topic this year that it makes sense to, right? How do you not, right? What's more appealing, this or talking about flex
playoff.
players being down or who should be in the playoff. Well, does anybody want to hear us debate who the 12th team should be in week 9? Like that's not really a fun topic anymore. It used to be like, 4 teams. So yeah, it's such a crazy carousel this year that we just are almost forced into it, and hopefully it's entertaining, but we'll see. We'll check the numbers and where we stand on Spotify after this week to find out.
We'll let the people talk. Last bullet point on our thing tonight, actually, then is just Texas. And that's it. That was the prompt, Texas. So we're gonna have to figure out what direction we're gonna go. No, I mean overtime against this Kentucky team. I thought they were turning a leaf after that Oklahoma game. I really did, especially Arch's play. And then he was just bad again. I know Kentucky, they're not a great team this year, but they're defensively, they're pretty stout. So I'm not gonna necessarily crush anybody for struggling to move the ball consistently against them. But I mean,
they also play slow too. So sometimes those numbers look a little bit weird because they run 58 plays or something. I don't even remember how many plays they had, but sometimes these teams drag you in the mud and in 60 minutes later, you've run 47 plays. Let's see. I can look real quick. They ran 55 plays, which I imagine is at least 10 plays less than they're used to.
Very low.
The thing with Texas, and people were joking about this in my friend Tex that are I have some Texas fans and some Georgia fans. They're like, no, you're not an SEC team until you get dragged in the mud and win an OT thriller against Kentucky. It's just kind of like a hazing ritual, and it does feel like that happens, right? I mean, Ole Miss lost to them. Georgia has played them tight in years past, so it's not like it's super atypical. The difference is that these teams also look really good in all these other weeks, and it's just you just had an off week. I don't know what to think about Texas anymore. They are going to lose some games, and to a point you wonder how. I mean, they play at Georgia and they play Texas A&M. There's no reason for any of us to think that they win those games, right?
They play Vandy. Do you think they'll beat Vandy?
Well, I just mean it from I think Vandy is certainly up in the air. But to me,
Vandy's
A&M,
a tiny bit fraudulent to me. We're not talking top 25 tonight.
Probably.
They're not the 10th best team in the country.
No, but I think some at Cambridge Canton would say there's no SEC bias, so why would they not be the true number 10 team in the country?
We can't talk about how bad LSU is for weeks and then Vanderbilt beats them and all of a sudden they're top 10. My opinion. One man's opinion.
I don't disagree. But I think Vandy's the type of team that they do stuff atypical and because of it they win games, but they don't feel like they really dominated. I think the difference is that their resume is probably softer. And that's why they feel fraudulent. And I would agree. They're certainly not a top 10 team. Top 25 team, I think 100%.
Yeah.
And that they're intimidating in matchups. But to me, Texas against Georgia, Texas against A&M, I think Georgia is a 10% chance they win, 15% chance they win. And then A&M, anything could happen in that rivalry. But 20% chance they win that game with how they've been playing all season long.
What's your opinion on it?
On if they're any good, I think.
Yeah.
They haven't beaten anybody except for Kentucky, and it was in overtime.
Right.
So it's hard to really just be behind them. At Mississippi State.
Well, they beat Oklahoma.
Mateer, though. Is that game different if Mateer doesn't hurt his hand?
Several weeks prior?
Yeah, if he's healthy the whole time. Yeah.
Probably. I mean, it's tough to say because I don't know that it was physical limitations per se in that game, that he just was doing stupid stuff. And I think he does stupid stuff quite often. He gets bailed out. But some of the interceptions he threw in that game were awful. I mean, the one specifically down the right hash that he threw, that I think he was targeting Canton downfield, and it was way behind, not even freaking close. I don't know that it was a physical issue. It was just stupid. I don't know. I would tend to think no, they would not lose that game. But
the defense feels good. The defense feels like what we all thought the defense should be. Like very good. Maybe not as elite as last year, but they lost a ton of dudes, right?
I thought they'd be better a little bit. But they also were on the field a lot because the offense can't sustain drives. So that hurts at some point.
And some new names, but also the offense is just all the way around. Like, has anybody been impressive? You know, like White Chocolate has been good, but I think he got hurt, right? And he's like, if that's your surprise good player, that's not a good thing for you for Texas. It's like a redshirt freshman.
Who's
Parker Livingstone?
Is that really his nickname? Or that's the nickname you've given him?
No. I don't make nicknames like that. That's way past me. That's what people were calling him, White Chocolate, after that one of the big early games. I'm not even kidding. I saw it on Twitter, so it had to be true.
Oh, well, yeah. Then that's my bad.
But I mean, if you think about their players, I'm not an offensive line guy. Somebody else can chime in there. But like every skill player is not good. Like, is this just bad recruiting, bad, improvement in coaching over years? Like, none of these guys have been impressive. You never really liked Baxter. I'm sorry, you never really liked Wisner, and Baxter's off an injury. Like Arch has been super underwhelming and bad at this a lot of times. Like, the whole group does not feel like a talented Texas group.
I mean, you have to wonder how much the offensive line issue is like they know what the limitations of this defenses know what the limitations of the Texas offense are. I mean, if you're a defensive coordinator and you're going into a Texas game, what's your game plan? Like, I wouldn't even really blitz Arch. He's not doing anything. You'd rather keep him in the pocket instead of having him run around because he's been terrible from the pocket. You're not worried about them winning deep, really. I mean, the field is not. There's not a lot you have to worry about as a defensive coordinator right now. So I don't know how much of the offensive line issue is just like we can just rush forward and then just keep some guys in the box to spy Arch / stop the run, and there's nothing else they're really going to do. I mean, I'm sure that makes their jobs more difficult, but I don't think they've been great this year either.
Just to back myself up here, I just searched Texas player White Chocolate. The first name was Jason Williams. Respect. The second was this On3 article called White Chocolate's surreal debut was just the start for Parker Livingstone.
I have never heard that.
Unbelievable. I mean, come on. Get with it. Yeah. The question I think here is like, do they turn it around? But I don't know if I don't think they've shown enough to be able to say confidently if they would. Like,
how could you have any faith that they would?
To me, 4 losses is a guarantee. Vandy could be a 5th. At Mississippi State is not a lock. That's like, isn't that crazy how it's like that? That's not even a lock anymore, is the game against Mississippi State. That's how far we have fallen. Is there an amount where this is a coaching show, apparently. Is there an amount of losses that Sark would be fired at? Like, if they lost out, would he be fired?
I don't think he'd be fired this year no matter what. Well, as it relates to on the field results.
Correct. Yeah.
What I would say is that if that were to happen or something close to that were to happen, we'd be a little bit on Billy Napier watch in terms of like going into the season. Everyone's like, at the first sign of trouble, this guy's probably gone, is what it would feel like to me. I don't know what his buyout is though, but I mean, I think Texas can afford.
He's whatever. Like deeper into the contract too, like it's not like,
those guys all re-up it like every 2 years though, and tack on more years. So I don't know what like extra years have already been tacked on. I bet after the playoffs last year, I
was going to say that's a perfect time to do it. Yeah. I think there's zero chance. I think you're right.
I think there's zero chance he gets fired this year. And if things go south, you bet your butt that they're looking for some cause stuff. Because of his background, they'll have people following him. They're just waiting for that one moment,
trying to tempt him. Maybe some areas.
Just goes out to his car and there's just a nice bottle of liquor on the windshield, like in a. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Texas to me is just kind of gross at this point. I'm not sure what they're doing or if they're going to get any better. Here's a pivot because I think this is kind of interesting. Deuce Knight. It sounds like Deuce Knight has a potential to play like real snaps this week.
Okay.
They basically said that Arnold was going to share some snaps with share practice snaps with Daniels, but then I saw today that like Deuce Knight has the potential to play. Like he needs to be ready essentially.
I mean, unless Knight has just been awful in practice to the point where you'd be concerned for like his safety and others to put him out there. I don't know why you wouldn't do that, right? I mean, are they 2-5 or what's their?
I think they're 3-4, okay. 3-5. Yeah,
I mean, the season's over. Like real in terms of what you were hoping for, best case scenario. I don't know why you wouldn't roll them out there and see what you got.
It's the old Lagway Hail Mary if you freeze.
Yeah. That's a good, really good way to put it. Yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't. I thought you were about to say, what if Knight enters the portal and he goes to Texas next year? I thought that was the direction.
No, I wasn't going to do that. And here's another final pivot because this is what I do. Mason Heinschel. Did I say that right?
I think so. Heinschel, yeah.
What are your thoughts on him as a pick guy?
I mean, he's been great. I had no expectations at all. Seems like at the minimum he can run the offense, and at best, like some of the improvisational stuff is pretty cool too.
True freshman, right? Where do you have him in your like C2C rankings?
I think in the 50s. I've started him like a bunch of times this year in leagues. I went and picked a bunch of them up the week after because I mean the schedule has been pretty soft. I've got him at 80 right now.
Who could possibly be 79?
Brendan Lewis. I'd probably rather have him over Brendan Lewis though. Lewis has been pretty good.
I mean, he's been good, but he just got hurt and he's done, right? Like,
oh, is he done for the season?
No, done after this year. Right?
Oh, like, yeah. I mean, that's a good but we also had Eli Holstein come out for hot 6 games in this offense and then get figured out. I don't know. I tend to on unheralded guys tend to be a little
that's fair.
Slower to elevate than
is he a 3-star?
He was a 3-star, yeah. I want to say he was like QB 40, QB 50. He wasn't like totally buried, but he wasn't a super heralded guy.
Is he from Pennsylvania or anything like that?
Ohio.
Like is there any feel for him? Like, would he leave? Would he stay? Like,
it's a great question. I honestly don't really know what Pitt's NIL situation is like. Like, I don't really think anybody does. I know it's not amazing. That was part of the reason they fired their last athletic director and brought in a new person is because the guy that was at Auburn, right? Because he was a little more situated to coax NIL dollars out of donors, whereas the previous AD at Pitt, who I actually really, really liked, but I care a little more about the Olympic sports, and she turned us into a power at a bunch of different women's volleyball, men's soccer, I think like diving, gymnastics, some stuff like that too. Like they've gotten real good at, which I think is kind of cool. But so I don't the TLDR, like I don't know exactly where they're at. Like if it's rebounded to a point where they're happy with it, how much money they have allocated, if they're planning on doing the $20.5 million, I don't know. But I would imagine that I would imagine based on the profile he was coming out of high school and how this year has gone for him, that he, at least for a year, would take the pay bump, whatever is offered, negotiated or otherwise, and do one more year and then see from there.
Yeah, I think if he finishes strong, it probably just makes sense because he has like a third year to get paid and a fourth year if he really wanted to go that route. Like if he continues to be good. I think I'd rather take the mystery box that is Mason over like a Brendan Lewis that's gone.
Yeah, it's probably fair.
But I'm not a C2C expert by any means. Not yet.
I
gotta win my first league first.
You're gonna win both sides, I hear.
And end it in year 1. That's the goal.
I hope not. I made some trades this week. That would upset me.
Sketchy trades is what I heard too.
No, it was the other trades that were sketchy. Mine were all legitimate.
Oh,
many are saying.
Many are saying. Yeah. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but there was some. I saw one and I was like, I can't keep up, because it's always like college assets included, but they're not shown, so I can't keep up, and I barely pay attention to like the rules of these things, anyways, as witnessed by earlier complaints that I made.
Well, you're doing great in year 1, so
Startup, it's easy to just pick a good college team in year 1. We'll see.
Be surprised. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Make sure you're checking out everything here on the YouTube channel. Martin says Austin created a stir on Twitter today with a trade he made. I didn't create the stir.
Let's do it. I haven't seen it, so you'll get a natural reaction.
I did not post. It was somebody. The person I traded with posted it, and it kicked up some feelings.
Hit me.
I traded Malachi Tony.
This is C2C, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the league we're in. I think.
Is it is it our league? Yeah. Like I said, I don't pay attention.
I traded Malachi Tony, Drew Mestamaker, and Chris Bell.
Okay.
For Jordan Tyson and a supplemental second-round pick next year, which will probably be like mid-late.
So you gave up
Tony and Tyson, Tony and Bell for Tyson, essentially. Like is how I kind of.
You don't have any value in Mestamaker.
I do, but I feel okay being able to find another Mestamaker. There's like a handful of them every year. I mean, him, Brad Jackson this year. There's usually a handful you can target.
Yeah, that's the hard part with this. As someone that's not C2C, like I haven't done it. This is my first year. Is that Mestamaker is great, but like with the way the waiver wires type stuff work, there's always some like really interesting options available. You could just literally replace them, and it is 2 QB and a super flex. So like technically, QB does have some elevated value in this league compared to some where you only start 2. But so you did it because you think Chris Bell has 0 NFL value, and Jordan Tyson obviously has a lot.
I don't want to say 0, but I think he's like highly situational. Like he might have an odd week here or there, but he would never be a guy that I would want to start.
You went for the NFL value of Tyson is what you were going for.
Yeah.
And then you figured, I can get a really interesting receiver or whatever in the second round.
Yeah, more or less. I like Tony, for the record, because I feel like people have been saying like, well, he doesn't like Tony, so that's why he did this trade. I think Malachi Tony is very good. I just don't think he's Jordan Tyson. So, I mean.
Is your team competing on the college side this year?
I won the first 3 weeks, and then I've had just like some weird weeks after that, and I'm 3-5. So it was probably kind of over.
I think if I remember the standings, I think you're basic. I mean, because we're basically at playoffs at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah. I think it feels even. It feels even, and I definitely don't think there's any sort of like sketchiness surrounding it. Tony's interesting to me because I feel like NFL is moving towards that type of receiver, but you have to wait for it.
There is some like Rashee Rice to his game, but is Rashee Rice if he's not in Kansas City?
Do you think Tony lands in Kansas City?
I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable projecting that 3 years out. So
you're not that good, is what you're saying.
No.
Yeah, I think because I'm always in the mindset of like trying to contend now, I probably would lean the Tony side.
Yeah.
But I could see it both ways. Tyson's out this week, by the way. I don't know if you saw him.
Even better. We're tanking now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for you. Yeah.
We're tanking. We want one of those top 4 picks this upcoming year. Everything after that's poopy.
Do you think you'll end up going like a high schooler with the second round of your supplemental? Isn't that your vibe is typically go because values or the cost is never going to be cheaper, right? Isn't that what you always say with Colin? Like cost is never going to be cheaper with freshmen.
Like say I project that pick to be like the 209, 210, which is probably what I would guess that it will be. That's like borderline.
Who was like a 209, 210 guy this past draft?
Malachi Tony. No, he was more of a 3rd or 4th round guy.
That like the that wasn't the Oklahoma freshman range.
Yeah, like that would have been like the Elijah Thomas range. I'm trying to think.
That was too late for Lotzier Brooks.
If you were in a league with me, yeah. I'm looking up like my thing here to see that would have been some of the quarterbacks, maybe depending on the league,
like the UNC guy and the maybe
JKS
like Washington JKS.
Yeah, would have been the range for those guys, maybe like a Gideon Davidson or something like that. Dallas Wilson, Caleb Cunningham.
You can see the appeal for that pick for sure.
It's like real coin flippy.
Pick. I think a coin flip's fine though. I mean, considering you don't have a ton of value in Mestamaker and Bell's gone / probably not super valuable in NFL. Interesting.
We'll see. Yeah.
Best of luck to you in the draft next season.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're officially actually going to close it here.
Official.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week. Good night and good luck.